As a child, I was different, handicapped. I had difficulty breathing, eyes that didn't work well in bright sunlight, spindly-legged, weak, uncoordinated. I wasn't a very pretty thing. Thank you, Homer, my ex-convict friend. Thank you for John Carter of Mars. And thank you, Claude, for that first copy of Astounding Stories magazine. Sorry you didn't reach 16 and grow out of your illness as I did. I was lucky. My body mended. I actually became stronger than average. I had learned by then that reality is incredibly larger, infinitely more exciting than the flesh and blood vehicle we travel in here.
The great bird of the galaxy?
You remember the 20th century brush wars on the Asian continent.
The creator of Star Trek.
Two giant powers involved, much like the Klingons and ourselves. Neither side felt they could pull out.
Yes, I remember. It went on bloody year after bloody year.
Probably the most often asked question about the show is why the Star Trek phenomenon. It is now being asked by communications experts, by sociologists, educators, and it could be an important question because you can ask, how can a simple space opera with blinking lights and zap guns and a hobgoblin with pointy ears reach out and touch the hearts and minds of literally millions of people?
This man, this stranger, this policeman, wrote a spec script on Half Done Will Travel, and Sam read it and he said, God, this guy can write.
God help you, Mr. Thorpe.
Your own book puts it, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
And another man's son.
Gene started collecting stories from other beat cops and turning them into television shows like Dragnet and True Crime.
You guys ever heard of Gene Roddenberry?
What?
Gene Roddenberry?
Who's that? The creator of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Who created it back in 1950.
We did our first pilot in 1964. The first pilot did not sell. NBC thought it was too cerebral.
I felt that I double-crossed him. I'd written him this thing about where the mind went in certain ways.
We were expecting an action-adventure. We were expecting Wagon Train to the Stars.
We made him a second show, which had Bill Shatner in a bare-knuckle fistfight.
I'm going to identify when it's Shatner and when it's his stunt double, Fred Lubin. Let's watch.
When I was in high school, I think I was in a video store, and they had just released the original episodes on VHS.
You surprise me, Captain, by sparing your helpless enemy, who surely would have destroyed you.
This was a show that valued logic and reason and human achievement.
Boy, wouldn't it be great if I could go to that place where people don't judge you by how heavy you are, how tall you are, the color of your skin. They judge you by what's inside.
Gene Roddenberry created a world in which everybody is equal. Humans think, oh, we can solve all our problems. It's war.
He was just great to everybody, really. It was a fun experience. It was one of the few shows that I've worked on where even the guys who were up in the scaffolding, the lighting guys, wouldn't be reading their newspapers while the scene was going on. They were watching.
Rod Serling set the tone for dramatic writing in television. Carl Reiner set the tone for comedy writing. And Gene came along, and his writing was different. He was a philosopher.
A lot of the episodes, a lot of the shows, the concepts were related to being able to overcome barriers, overcome limitations, and to be able to achieve.
He backed Nichelle Nichols as the Black Lieutenant, and there were stations in the South that said, we're not going to carry the show. And Gene basically just said, it's your law.
My ninth grade science teacher said that Star Trek had the first on-screen interracial kiss.
When I was told that a Star Trek fan wanted to meet me, and I turned and looked into the face of Dr. Martin Luther King, I was breathless. And I told him that I was leaving the show. All the smile came off his face, and he said, you can't do that. Don't you understand that for the first time we are seen as we should be seen? Everyone in the world who will see this show will think differently about life and what it should be.
Television was very censored in those days. I wanted to find a format in which I could talk about sex and religion and all of the real life situations.
I was adopted and I was illiterate before age 8. Through my watching Star Trek, my mom found an in. Star Trek actually gave me a chance to grow up to be a normal kid.
During the Vietnam War, we were the only dramatic program that made a statement, but we got it by because it was happening to people on far-off planets.
By the 23rd century, Star Trek fandom had evolved from a loose association of nerds with skin problems into a full-blown religion.
and Scotty beamed them to the Klingon ship, where there would be no Tribble at all.
All power to the engine.
Countless people have written about spaceships and other planets and battles in the cosmos. But your father did it from the point of view of the character's perspective.
He used to talk about how he got to know the characters by writing questions for them and then answering the questions. And when they started asking him questions, he knew that the character was developed.
We are growing up. We're moving into adolescence now. When we grow up, man, we are going to be something. Gene Roddenberry Jr., step up here, son.
It's 7:40 a.m. in Lucas Valley. Eugene Roddenberry with the documentary Trek Nation.
I am a fan of Gene Roddenberry, and I, obviously have a great deal of respect for him. Star Trek softened up the entertainment arena so that Star Wars could come along and stand on its shoulders, and there was an effective group of people in the beginning who accepted it, that it wasn't that far out. For the studios, it was way far out. What is this? Star Trek was definitely the little engine that could. It really just stayed around forever, and people couldn't get enough of it. But the networks didn't like it, didn't want it. Nobody wanted it except this fan base.
What Star Trek proves is that the much maligned common man and common woman has an enormous hunger for brotherhood. They are ready for the 23rd century now, and they are light years ahead of their petty governments and their visionless leaders. So you see that the formula, the magic ingredient that many people keep seeking and many of them keep missing is really not in Star Trek. It is in the audience. There is an intelligent life form out on the other side of that television tube.